Hi, so somebody came up to me, one of my students anyway, and had some questions on how to do these problems. The question was, how do we find the sine inverse, or sometimes they call it the arcsine, the cosine inverse, or the tangent inverse of a value? Well, first of all, we got to understand what the restrictions are. You must memorize these if they don't give it to you on the exam. Sine inverse, the restrictions is quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. The cosine inverse is restricted to quadrant 1 and 2. And the tangent inverse is restricted to quadrant 1 and 4. Please note that quadrant 1 for the sine is positive and quadrant 4 is negative. Cosine to quadrant 1 is positive and quadrant 2 is negative. And tangent is just like sine, is positive in quadrant 1 and negative in quadrant 4. Some things that you should know by now is sine inverse is the y value of the function in a unit circle. Unit circle, let's give you the definition of a unit circle. Unit circle is with a radius equal to 1. That's the definition of a unit circle, one single unit. So if the radius is 1, the sine inverse value, or the sine value is the y value of the unit circle. The cosine inverse is going to be the x value. And then finally, the tangent inverse is the y over the x value. This gets a little bit tricky, so let's give some example, okay? Example number 1. I'm going to use a different pen. I like mixing it up a little bit. What would be the sine arc? Example 1. Arc sine of negative root 3 over 2. Well, we know we're looking for arc sine, so here it is right here. Arc sine is restricted to quadrant number 4. So that's going to be, because of this negative right over here, I'm going to highlight it. It's going to be restricted to quadrant number 4. And find the y value, where it's going to be negative root 3 over 2. Either you're going to have to memorize the unit circle, or you have to reproduce it with a piece of paper that he or she, the teacher, is going to give you. I know that, let me see, negative root 3 over 2 is going to be 60 degrees negative, so it's going to be, that's equal to negative 60 degrees, or in radians, it's going to be negative pi over 3. I just want to verify that for you. Just in case you have a calculator, you take the arc sine, or sine inverse of radical, where is it? Radical 3, enter, divided by 2. And notice it has that 60 right over there. That means it's in degrees right now, and so it's going to be negative 60 degrees. I'm sorry, I put a positive right there. So that's why it's positive 60. If I put a negative in front of it, let's insert a negative right in front of it. It's going to be negative 60 degrees, or negative pi over 3. Let's do another example to see how it works. Example 2. What about the cosine inverse of 1/2? Well, what quadrant is it in? We go to the cosine. It's going to be either quadrant 1 or 2. It's going to be in quadrant 1 because it's positive right here. And we can look it up in the table, or if you memorized it. It's going to be due to the positiveness. It's going to be in quadrant 1, sorry. And it's going to be pi over 3, or positive 60 degrees. Okay, that's your answer right over there. Let's look at some other value. Let's look at one more example here. It's going to be a little bit tricky on this. Let's look at tangent inverse of root 3. Well, first of all, what quadrant? Since it's positive, Let's get negative right there. That way, it's going to tell you, we restricted it on the tangent inverse again, right over here, to quadrant 1 or 4. Since it's negative, it's going to be in quadrant 4. Looking at the circle now, there's only three things you can do in quadrant 4. It's going to be either negative 45, negative 60, or negative 30. Looking at your unit circle, I don't have it in front of me, so I have to make this up. It's going to be root 3 over 2, negative 1/2, root 2 over 2, negative root 2 over 2, and it's going to be 1/2 and negative root 3 over 2. The tangent inverse is the ratio of the y value, the opposite side to the adjacent side. So let's look at this one right over here, just in case. The y value is negative 1/2 divided by root 3 over 2. How to get rid of that? You're going to multiply it by the reciprocal, which is 2 over root 3. Notice how this is called a complex fraction. The way to get rid of the complex fraction is multiplied by the reciprocal. Reciprocal is just a flip of this. That becomes negative 1/2 times 2 over root 3. These cancel. You end up with negative 1 over root 3. If you rationalize this, you want to multiply root 3 over root 3. You get negative root 3 over 3. That's probably not it, because we're looking for negative root 3. It looks similar to it, so I bet you it's going to be this one. Think about what this value is, the y value over the x value of this. This is a real simple number. You should be able to calculate this one on your own. Y over x again, negative root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. That becomes negative root 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. Cancel these out. And that becomes negative root 3 over 1, which is negative root 3. And there's your answer. So it's going to be this angle right here, which is negative 60 degrees. So that's equal to negative 60 degrees again, or pi over 3 negative. One other question that the student had was the 30, 60, 90 and the 45, 45, 90 triangles. I'm going to take my picture out. And I'm going to give you one that's similar to it. They give you a 30, 60, 90 like this. This is this is the 60 degree angle. So this must be the 30 degree angle. This is 8 root 5, and this is your, you're looking for this side as well as this side, adjacent and opposite. On a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the short side is x, the long leg is x root 3, and the hypotenuse is 2x. This is a formula for your 30, 60, 90 triangle. You got to remember this. It's going to be on your SAT and ACT as well. So that's the 60 degree angle. It looks just like this. Don't forget, let's do this one more time. The hypotenuse is always the longest leg. The short leg is x, and the long leg is x multiplied by root 3. So we set this value 8 radical 5 equal to this value, the hypotenuse. They're equal, 2x. How do you solve for x? Well, you have to divide by 2 to get rid of the 2, right? So x equals 8 root 5 over 2. Simplify that, the 8 and the 2 cancels to a 4 radical 5. So you found out what this length is, which is 4 radical 5. You have to find out what this length is. To get to here, this is your value of x, right? You have to multiply by root 3 to get to here, the long leg. So our answer is going to be 4 radical 5 times radical 3. When we multiply radicals, we multiply the radicand on the inside, which is going to be 4 radical 5 times 3, which is 15. So this value, let me rewrite it, is 4 radical 5. This is going to be 4 radical 15. Good luck with your homework and your test. And if you have any more questions, let me know. Thank you.